All businesses, including gyms, need to raise prices over time, but this can be anxiety-inducing. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to raise your rates with minimal pushback from your clients and minimal loss of sleep. My name is Mark Fisher from businessforunicorns.com, and whenever someone joins our coaching group, more often than not, we discover that they are chronically undercharging. If you're not charging enough money, well, gosh, there's no way you can safely pay your bills and create the kind of income that's appropriate for the risk you're taking as a gym owner. Of course, it is completely reasonable to have a little bit of nerves around this because we care about our clients. We don't relish the thought of making them stressed or making them uncomfortable. But at the same time, this is a thing we all need to do at least maybe 18 months just to keep up with the cost of inflation. So if I were to give you one core overriding principle here, it is be direct, don't beat around the bush, don't agonize. Prices go up for all businesses. It's just the way the things work. Now, for important message like this, you're going to want to get some written documentation, which is why more often than not, email will be the primary delivery mechanism of this message. For the time being, we're focusing on how to structure the email. Number one, when writing an email to deliver important news, well, gosh, it's really important that the email gets read. So you want to go with a unmistakable subject line, something that makes it very obvious what's going on. I recommend something like important news, please read, in brackets in all capital letters. Number two, come right out with the reason for the email. Don't beat around the bush. Don't meander and talk about, and as a valued client, anyway, hope things are well, hope you're having a good fall. Listen, come right out with it. Dear so-and-so, I'm writing this email to let you know about an upcoming cost of living increase. Well, increase the rate of your membership or something to that effect. Time out real quick. If you want to see the actual template that we give to members of the Unicorn Society, well, don't tell Michael Keeler, but I'll give it to you. Just email me at mark@businessforunicorns.com and I'll actually give you not only the template with the actual words, which you can just copy paste, but also a written version of some of these principles so that you'll know how to have an effective increasing your rates experience. Number three, acknowledge that while you wish you never had to raise rates, that ultimately, like all businesses, this is a thing that you have to do from time to time. Now, at the time of the recording of this video, inflation is running rampant. It's red hot. So in practice, you've actually got a little bit more covered than you have ever had because your clients are likely paying attention to what's going on. This is not news to them, but costs are going up for everyone. Key point here, this isn't really about you. It's ultimately going to be about them. So this shouldn't be overly apologetic. This is direct, this is simple and concise. And by the way, if you want to understand finances and expenses better, you're going to want to go ahead, go to the video description below and click on the link to find out exactly what I spend in my multi-million-dollar training gym. Number four, share a list of the ways you have been and continue to invest in the business. So this is something that I think is important at all times, which is internally marketing so your clients are cognizant of the way you're constantly looking to improve things. This is everything from pay increases in benefits for your staff, investing in continuing education for the team so your services continue to improve over time. Again, key point here, this isn't about you, this is about them. So you're focusing on how your investments are going to improve their experience. And number five, end your email by acknowledging them and thanking them for their continued support. This is also an appropriate place to acknowledge that you don't want to lose anybody over a modest cost of living increase. And you know, in today's day and age, every dollar counts. So you can make the space to invite any individuals that are truly challenged by this increase of rates to reach out to you personally to have a conversation, because you certainly want to do your best to take care of everyone and commit to your clients the way they've committed to you. There are two things about this. Number one, you want to allow a place for people to have a conversation with you. And I gotta tell you, for better or for worse, 9 times out of 10, if people are really upset and it's a meaningful increase, wow, that just means they care. That means they really like your business, and they might really be in a position where that 20, 30, 40 bucks per month really does matter to them. If you want to consider on a one-off basis here and there, maybe offering some kind of limited time, and I think that's an important discount, you certainly could consider that. I'll let you decide about the various ethics of how equally you are or are not enforcing the price raise. But I think it's appropriate to have chats if somebody really wants to stay, and this is absolutely a straw too far. Finally, the other point I want to make is if you're doing a normal price increase, which I would describe as the 3 to 5% range, I could make the case because of inflation, you could maybe say anything 8% or under is just the cost of living per year. And technically, I would say is more of a price raise as opposed to what I would describe as a price correction. A price correction is anything over, certainly over 8%, certainly over 10%. If this is just a price raise, remember, every business does this every year. So if you're really losing someone over 10 or 20 bucks, that suggests they were kind of out the door anyway and they're looking for an excuse to go. Now, I want to give you a final set of considerations as you structure this messaging. Number one, as I mentioned, you might want to augment the email communication with a video and or text messaging. Listen, not everyone is going to watch the video, just as some people would prefer to watch a video rather than read an email. And the more dramatic it is, if you are good on video, the more you will humanize it and provide some warmth and remind your members that in fact, you're not this evil, strange business robot, you're a human. This will sometimes temper their level of frustration for the very small outliers that have an emotional response to price increase, which I want to keep emphasizing is normal. Because you're increasing rates, this is an important thing for people to understand. So you might want to consider doing things such as resending the email once or even twice to email addresses that you can tell in your email service provider did not open up the first communication. You may also want to consider sending out a physical letter in the mail. Again, the bigger the price increase, I think the more we want to go full court press with getting the word out. Finally, you might want to consider creating a landing page on your website that has all the same text that goes in the email and then texting to your members. Now, an important thing to understand is you should expect almost invariably, you're gonna have some pushback. Now, if you do this right, if you stick this landing, you're gonna minimize it. But the reality is, if you have a couple hundred members, in practice, it's almost invariably some of them are going to use this as an excuse to either terminate or feel aggrieved that you're increasing their rates. Now, while that's not particularly fair to you, this is what it is. You're not always going to have everyone behaving 100% rationally. And remember, if they're really upset, what does that mean? What does that mean? They care. Here's the deal. If you lose a handful of members over this, but you have adequately raised your prices, more often than not, the way this works is you will still come out ahead. In some cases, you might be making more revenue for less total members. Finally, I want to speak quickly to a situation where you're not doing a price raise to a price correction. So if you're doing a price correction, I do think your strategy is a little bit different here because in practice, you've gone beyond the bounds of what consumers can expect for yearly price increases that every business rolls out. In that scenario, you can't honestly say this is a modest, no big deal increase. However, if you're providing sufficient value and you have in fact made a tragic mistake in your original pricing, I think this is a Band-Aid you're gonna have to rip off. So here's the thing, the overall playbook is mostly the same. I think the main difference is you just wanna go into this knowing and acknowledging and validating in advance that this kind of price increase is gonna sting a little bit more. I will remind you yet again, another I think theme of this video is this communication is not about you, it's about them. So if you do want to acknowledge that you have made a math error and you now must fix it, I think a mea culpa could be appropriate, but it's not about you or your feelings or I feel bad, it's about them. I would also note that based on the number of clients you have and based on the size of the increase, there could be a case for individual outreach. We've seen some members of the Unicorn Society do this very effectively, where they changed their model and had a very drastic price increase. And just by taking the time to get on the phone with their clients, they were able to have one-on-one conversations. And of course, that is going to do a lot to diffuse any pushback. It doesn't mean you won't lose anyone, but my gosh, that's pretty amazing personalized customer service. Now, that may or may not be practical depending on the size of your gym and how many clients, but it is another thing for you to consider as far as how you structure and how you roll out this very important messaging. All right, friends, there you go. I want to remind you, if you want to email me at mark@businessofunicorns.com, do not tell Keeler. Keeler will be pissed. No, I don't know if he'll be pissed. He's gonna fire me. I will give you the Raise Your Rates template that we share exclusively with members of the Unicorn Society. So that will not only echo a lot of the points and principles made in this email, but it actually has a written template that you can just copy paste, change the names, and add in some different benefits, and it might make your life a little bit easier. And final thought here is if you are finding you're feeling a lot of anxiety around this, again, I just want to normalize this for you. That's normal. And what I recommend you do is go to the video description below and watch my video, how to make hard changes in your training gym. And while you're there, one thing that is not hard to do is click subscribe. That's quite easy, in fact. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. It would mean so much to me if you consider sharing the love with friends, with other training gym owners. And I will see you next time for another video where I will give you more actionable tips, psychological frameworks, and philosophy. Raise your rates.